In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
The Alegria. Oh, where are you? Hold on a minute. Just let me move the lady with the biggest baps I've seen for a very long time off the screen. Let me see you. Hold on. Where are you? There you are. Colin's already giggling in the background there. Good morning to you, Colin, and good morning to you, Pedro. We'll speak to you both in just a minute. Yes, hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. Not entirely sure what happened last night with Portugal and Georgia. A little bit of an upset. Yes, absolutely, Pedro. Maybe we'll get a quick comment from you when you join us on the screen. We want more of this. Thank you to Philomena who sent in this video. We'll be with Colin and Pedro in just a moment, but a little bit of this to boost the morale back up where it should be for the Portuguese fans. Right, we need that morale back, don't we? That was, I think, before the last game. Really not sure what happened last night. I think we might have some expert commentary from Pedro in a minute. But before we talk to Pedro and are introduced to him, let's bring our mate Colin onto the screen. Colin Ross-Jones, just finishing the last bits of his breakfast. Hola, bon dia. You enjoyed the big baps then, I think, this morning. How are you, Colin? Oh, have you frozen up? There's a lovely smile on your face. Oh, there you are. You're back again now. How are you? Tudo bem?
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well.
All right. I'm not sure if you watch the football. You're more of a rugby man, as we know. Have the Euros left you cold and untouched so far? What Euros?
Is there any football on at the moment?
Oh dear! Don't say that. You might have our guest Walk saying things like that.
All I know is my internet reception was very poor last night for some reason. I don't know why.
Okay. Yes. All of your neighbours watching the football, so that you weren't able to watch your cat videos that you like watching. Cat videos and car videos, of course, I think are the most highly consumed bandwidth in your house. You have brought us the most wonderful guest. I was nearly late starting the show this morning because he and I were just chatting behind the scenes. Next thing I know, it's 9:01. So where did you find Pedro before we bring him on? How did you come across Pedro? How did you make his acquaintance?
Funny enough, I just happened to come across a video with the Algarve Antics.
Oh, yes,
Nick
Robinson.
Pedro was their guest, and I thought, perfect. This gentleman is just what we need on our show. He not only is a car consultant and imports luxury cars, but such an interesting person. And when I actually did speak to him, we couldn't get each other off the phone because we were just absolute petrol heads.
I can imagine. And doesn't he make a great video?
Oh, dear me, doesn't he just?
Yeah,
I wish he would teach me how to do it, eh?
I wish he would as well. Right. I'm a little bit embarrassed now. I'm going to play our intro theme. And I feel, let's look the other way, Colin, a little bit red-faced playing this, but we'll welcome him after our intro music. And of course, we've got Heather Binder with us at 9:30. And we're going to do a What's So Special About Caldash chat, I hope, this morning with Heather. But any questions you've got about migrating to Portugal. Of course, we'll talk to Heather about those. But for the time being, it's all about the motoring in Portugal. Oh my word, an amateur video there. So sorry, Pedro. Hola, bom dia.
Pretty good.
Muito
Hola,
prazer.
bom dia.
Bom dia to you.
Good morning, Pedro.
Good morning, Colin. How are you?
Very well.
Very well indeed. Okay, so maybe we should get the football thing out of the way. What happened, Pedro? I think he was resting the team, wasn't he, to be fair? But that didn't go terribly well.
No, it didn't go terribly well. It got terribly sour, to be honest. After I started watching the game, like, people were pretty relaxed because you knew they were already on the eighth finals. But on minute number 2, Georgia scoring a goal, it was like, okay, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm leaving. No, this is not going anywhere. So, and it didn't play out too well. I was really disappointed. But
Yes.
anyway,
in the bar that I watched it in, we have Pedro there who owns the bar, and I looked at him and I said, "You look like an England fan tonight." That's what it was like. It was like being an England fan watching that match last night. It was unbearable. And I think the Portuguese fans are quite harsh, are they not, in their criticism of their team? They'll have to. The team will face some stern words, I think, from the population this morning.
Yeah, because we were supposed to win. It was like everyone wanted the 3-streak win, and it was like, why are you going to lose against Georgia? Why?
Yes.
It's like, anyway, it's like failing on that stunt that you do like a million times that it goes well, and on that precision that you have to just show the easy part, you just screw it up. So it was
great analogy. Okay, so onward and upward anyway. Força Portugal for the next games, and for England as well. That's a difficult match for them coming up. I think they have to win to stay in on the 30th. All the best to our respective teams here. And Antonio F this morning. Good morning to you, Antonio. And everyone else who's joined us this morning. Good to see you all. This last match must work as a wake-up call for the team. Well, let's hope so. So great to have you here, Pedro. We heard how Colin discovered you. You have the most fabulous business, I would say, and an interesting background. Could you tell us a little bit about your backstory and how you got into the business of dealing with beautiful cars, one of which we'll see a little bit later on?
Okay. So basically, I started out with the left foot, and in 1992, I went to banking business. I started out as a trader in the stock exchange market, while we still had the technology was just a hand-free phone and a couple of papers and people shouting in the Lisbon Stock Exchange.
Really? So, you were in there in those days?
I was there on those days. I have to, that picture over there. It's me walking in the stock exchange, the Lisbon Stock Exchange. There was an article that came out in the newspaper, and I just kept that. Yeah, those were the days.
Yeah, absolutely.
I lived some of the most amazing stories, and Lisbon Stock Exchange is nothing compared to the NYSE, but still, it was, for our perspective and for Portuguese perspective, it was quite out of this world in the banking system. And I had the privilege.
Still feel that? Could you know, in the mornings, did they ring a bell? Did they have a buzzer, and you would walk onto the trading floor?
The trading floor doesn't exist anymore. It closed down in 1997. I'm not sure.
Wow.
Because everything turned electronic.
But
the beauty of the dealing was physical, was in person. That was when you had to know your game in order to win.
Yes.
Because when now you're sitting behind a desk and on your computer, and it's just electronic, it's just all the same. It's an algorithms and stuff like that, and high frequency tradings and things that I can't even understand why a stock can trade 1,000 times in 3 seconds. It doesn't make any sense.
Wow.
While we took a whole morning to do one deal sometimes.
With pieces of paper.
Exactly, with pieces of paper, pieces of hitting each other outside.
Did you work off ticker tapes?
Sorry?
Were you working off ticker tapes?
Sometimes, yes.
Microfiche.
Yeah, sometimes.
Incredible.
Ticker tapes and prices.
And the printers, when we moved to the office slowly from the stock exchange, so we still, there was a time where we still had the floor and the electronic trading at the same time. So there were the guys in the floor and the guys in the office. And when I started to move to the office working with bigger clients, we had these printers, the needle printers. And it was, imagine, for 8 hours consecutive on a day, listening to zzz, 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 right,
My goodness.
right on your side while working on your phone. 2 phones, actually. I remember going to the office and my boss, at the head of trading, said to me, "You have to develop a third ear." I said, like, "What do you mean a third ear?" Because you're stuck with 2 phones, but you still have to listen to everything what is around you on the trading room.
Yes.
So, oh, that's the third ear.
Incredible. Wow. What
Yes.
a fascinating background to come
Yeah.
from.
So I was there for 29 years, and in 20, but always since I was a kid, I had a huge passion for cars. I drove my first car with my father sitting right next to me when I was about 13 or something, way before I had a driver's license. And since 2012, more or less, I started to shoot videos for YouTube about cars. I used to be a great subscriber of Car and Driver, Evos, and stuff like that. And when they started to make videos about the cars, I said, "Oh, wow, this is amazing. Now I can see the car moving and how it sounds. This is way better than reading." So I said, "Oh, that's the future."
Yes.
So in a completely amateur stuff with one GoPro, I started to do some absolute amateur videos. But all of a sudden, and YouTube was not in 2012 what it is now in 2024. So really slowly, I started to get some subscribers. Brands started to take attention of me, so I went directly to them to borrow their cars to review. They found the idea at first like, "This guy's crazy. We're not going to lend him cars to shoot videos." It took me. It was a struggle. It was quite a struggle. But slowly I started to pick up a pace and getting dozens of subscribers and thousands of subscribers. And in 2021, I decided to leave banking for good and dedicate myself to doing content and to turn my followers, my dozens of thousands of followers, into potential clients. Because without even knowing or realizing or having conscience about that, I had this credibility image in the market, and people started to come through my door because they follow my channel and because they like my videos and because they believe in what I say.
Wow. That's a brave move, though, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm guessing if in 29 years in banking, you were quite good at it.
Yeah.
So to step out of it and follow your passion must have taken some bravery.
Yeah.
How was that? I mean, it's clearly going well.
No, it is. I don't regret one single day. I never looked back, to be honest. I never looked back, and I only regret not having done it sooner.
That's interesting, isn't it? When people, that's a hallmark of a great decision, isn't it? I mean, people say this about Portugal, don't they, about moving here. It's like my only regret about moving here is I didn't do it sooner. So clearly the right move for you.
Yeah, and I actually used to work abroad as well. So I have this very good sensation of not only I love my country, but I know how it is to work outside my country and live in other countries.
Yes.
And I always craved about coming back.
Okay.
I remember working and living in Madrid in Spain, just right next door, 650 kilometers away from where I live now. But every time I came back, I was driving all the time. I never took the plane. I drove. I used to drive an E39 M5, so it was a good.
I was going to ask you what cars you were driving in the 90s when you were a banker, because I mean, you couldn't have an old banger, could you? As a banker, you've got to have the right car, right?
And I had this. I swapped cars every year.
Did you? Right.
Yeah, in banking and especially in equity trading, you get paid quite nicely, and you get a bonus every year. Yes. So that was the perfect excuse to change car every year, buy a new car every year.
What sort of cars were you driving then in those days?
Sports cars, obviously.
Go on, tell us about a few of those.
M's, Audis S's, RS's, some station wagons when I turned father, and I turned father at 25, so I had to move to the station wagon. Never had SUVs, never one. I remember having a Grand Cherokee, and after 3 days, I was like, "Oh, what did I do? This is such a crap car, please." It was class 2 on tolls, so I learned that the hard way. So because I didn't know what a class 2 was.
Yeah.
So I remember passing on the first toll, and I was like, "What is this? 5 euros? It's supposed to be 2.5 euros." And then I went to the toll booth guy and said, "Oh, what's wrong with this? This is malfunctioning." He said, "No, your car is the problem." So I said,
Wow.
what do you mean my car is the problem? And anyway, but I had 35 different cars over 25 years, more or less, with a couple of stories to tell. I have lots of videos on YouTube about my cars.
Yes.
And I even have a video, it became quite famous. It was like my 5 worst cars and my 5 best cars.
Excellent. Okay.
So, but
I think you might have a few new subscribers from this community if they're not already followers of yours. Yes, absolutely. So if people go to pedro-consulting.pt, that's where they'll be able to subscribe and find out more about you, of course.
Yeah, that's the website with a consulting business, but then they can access the channel. When they scroll down, there's also a note for people to subscribe the channel, and they can go to the fun part of the thing.
Perfect. Now, I'm aware I'm hogging you. Colin might have 1 or 2 questions as well. Sorry, Colin.
No, not at all.
Okay.
One of the interesting things for me is that you actually sell some very nice upmarket cars. How did that start? And I think you import most of them. Is that correct?
Yes, I have an import business directly from Germany to Portugal. I do provide an all-in service, so the client doesn't have to be hustling with anything else. I just basically, we choose the car together with the client, and the client gets a phone call after a couple of weeks saying, "You can pick up your car now; it's ready for you."
Nice.
We do everything. We register the car, we wash it up, we vacuum it, get it to maintenance if it's needed, and I really like working with niche market and niche cars. Those are the cars I love. So basically, I sometimes I tend to manipulate, in a good sense, people to buy a different car, because some people sometimes come here, then, "Oh, I want to buy this GLC diesel," and I go like, "Well,
really?
How many miles do you do per year?" I was like, "Oh, I don't do much. I have like 5,000 miles." So why don't you buy a petrol car? They look at me like, "Oh, I didn't think of that. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here."
Exactly.
Well, that's the art of good consulting, isn't it? Is to have people work with them to challenge their assumptions and end up with something that surpasses their expectations.
No, and what I realized for these only 3 years that I've run my company here is that people sometimes don't have the slightest clue about what's the right car for them. For their kind of family purposes, the way they drive, the way the kind of driving they do on a daily basis. People sometimes come here, for this example, trying to buy a diesel, and they do 90% of their drives in town, inside the city. I said, like, don't buy a diesel for that. Buy an electric car for that, or a plug-in hybrid, or even a petrol small engine car, because that'll do pretty good. And on your holiday, because I need a big car for summer holidays. Summer holidays, that's once a year. You're not going to drive a car 350 days on 1 year, that a big SUV or an MPV to take on summer holidays for 2 weeks. Come on.
It's funny, isn't it, that the ideas people have. Paul Rees says this about living in Portugal. He redevelops beautiful properties in central Portugal, and he'll do the same thing as you. He'll ask the client, well, what is it you're looking for? And they have this: I need to be 1 hour from the airport. And he said, "Are you sure? Because if you're only going to the airport once or twice a year, that's a funny criteria to have. Because if you move 2 hours from the airport for that drive you do twice a year, you're going to get so much more value." So this is great what you're doing, and I'm guessing you prefer it when somebody says, I want X, Y, Z, and they've really thought about it rather than said, I'd like a red car of some sort. The more they can give you to start with, the better, and then you can add your value on top of that, presumably.
So speaking about a red car, I had 2 weeks ago a client coming here, and he wanted to buy a BMW station wagon, the 5 Series, and he said, condition number 1, the station has to be red. I said, a 5 Series red? Are you sure? Because you're going to buy that car, I can get you that car, but be sure you won't be able to sell it to anyone else ever again. You're going to be stuck with it forever. So like,
did you change the mind of that client?
Obviously, you bought a great car.
Excellent.
But that's how people are, and I mean, Alfa Romeo has to be a red.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the only car that's allowed to
be red? But there, yeah, an Alfa Romeo can be red, Lamborghini can be yellow. Yeah, Koenigsegg can be mint green, no problem. But a 5 Series red, no.
There'll be a law against it soon, won't there? Exactly. If you end up in Parliament, there'll be such laws, car laws coming in.
My next question, Pedro, is that should we have clients that want to import their own cars, you can help them with this?
I can.
Is it something you prefer not to do, or is it something you like to do?
Well, in most cases, non-EU clients bringing cars into Portugal, I would say that 90% of the cases does not compensate whatsoever to bring their car here.
No.
Right.
Because the costs to do so are absolutely prohibitive unless the client is moving permanently to Portugal. Then you still have to see case by case, because people from South Africa, for instance, trying to bring their cars over here, their right-hand drive, do not bring cars right-hand drive to Portugal, because there will be quite a problem to drive. And once they need to resell it, forget it. You won't resell it. No one will buy it, because it's a left-hand drive car country. Cars from the US are a problem to legalize in Portugal, because most of them, being non-European, the homologation is a problem. And cars coming from non-EU countries also, the CO2 reading emissions are done physically at the inspection center. So imagine a car with a European certificate that emits 190 grams of CO2. When red, a 10-year-old car, goes to the inspection center, they stick that gizmo up the exhaust, they're gonna like rev it up, and the car shoots 500 grams of CO2. So the car tax for that car is going to be like 10 times over what it should be.
Wow.
And the annual tax car to drive the car in Portugal, the IUC, the UC, can, instead of being 250 euros for an equal class car, can become 700 euros.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So these are really serious considerations, aren't they?
Well, I can assure you, I have a neighbor that brought his fairly new Range Rover Valor, which he bought in the United States and tried to officially import it. And that was a year ago. They have a problem with the rear lights, the indicators. They can't, despite changing everything, they can't get them to be anything other than red indicators. So the IPO will not pass it. And he's been trying for over a year to import this very, very nice, fairly new car, and has failed.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you a quick story. The other day, I went to the inspection center to receive a car, or to inspect a car to be legalized here in Portugal. And I watched by the corner of my eye, there was this beautiful Lexus 570, which is this monstrous SUV. And I was like, wow, what a brave guy to import a Lexus. And I asked the guy, does it come from an European country? And the guy said to me, no, and he's in a lot of trouble. I said, why? And we bought it from a cousin from Canada, but the guy wasn't aware of the legal procedures to legalize a non-EU car in Portugal.
Oh dear.
The car costed to his cousin, from his cousin, 22,000 Canadian dollars. 22,000. Do you know how much that car was going to have to pay in order to get a Portuguese license plate? Because of
at least
double
that.
No, 87,000.
No way!
Because the car spits 730 grams of CO2. It's a V8 5.7 with 12 years old.
Good heavens!
And when they measure that, the guy said, the guy from the inspection center turned to the man and said, "You're in a lot of trouble."
That's awful, isn't it? That is, I mean, so
he has to send the car back to Canada. He has to send the car back to Canada, because there's no way he's going to have the car here. You're not going to have a 100,000 euro car that costs 22,000.
That's extraordinary, isn't it? And so it's never about economics then, importing cars. It's about being attached to the vehicle and sentimental reasons. And even the richest people will have their limits on their sentimentality, especially when it comes to a situation like that. Right, we are running out of time in our slot here. Excuse me, Pedro. I hope you'll come back and talk to us again.
Okay.
Before you go, we're looking at an Audi S5.
Ooh.
And am I right in thinking that the S stands for sexy when it comes to the S5?
And super fast and super smooth and super silent and super car for that amount of money.
Incredible. It's one of your beautiful videos playing in the background. So tell us about this beauty, if you will, before you go today.
Okay, I drove that car from Germany to Lisbon because it was a hell of a ride. That car is a car I fell in love with because I thought it was just another Audi, and it's not. It's actually, the S stands for supercar.
Yeah.
Supercar, not in terms of performance, but in terms of the amount of good things that car can do in one single car. Yeah. It can be Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, because that car can be ultra smooth and you can cruise around at 70 kph with no noise whatsoever. It looks like you're driving an electric car, but you put it into dynamic and the gearbox in sport, and the car pops and bangs from the exhaust and makes this huge engine noise. And it has a supercharge in the middle of the V6. So this car has the wrong name because Audi names it V6T, but it's not a turbo, it's a supercharged car. So it should be called V6S. And you get even this supercharged whine when you put your floor down to the mat. They're like, it's amazing. And as a convertible, it's a fantastic car. I drove that car from Germany, half of my journey. So I would say 1,200 kilometers, roof down, no noise whatsoever. The car has Bang & Olufsen stereo sound system. So I listened most of my journey with Jean-Michel Jarre.
What a horrible job. What a horrible job this guy's got, Colin.
But I had to drive 2,500 kilometers in 2 days. So anyway,
okay, all right.
It's a fantastic car for this amount of money.
That's amazing.
It has 57,000
Anytime you need a
kilometers.
passenger, I'm up for it.
Road trip. There's not much room for both of us in there, Colin. I think it's just me or you in there. We're going to have to fight for that one, aren't we?
You're already busy every day. You are.
It's a fantastic car, believe me.
It is.
It has been an absolute joy to drive.
And this is the caliber of vehicle that you're dealing with, right?
Yes, I like to have these exclusive cars. This is the only S5 Cabriolet for sale in Portugal. There's no.
Really? That's such a one-off. So I think the general advice, we've got Heather coming up next, and Heather says this confirms my advice not to import vehicles. She helps people move to Portugal, and generally speaking, I think telling them to sell the vehicle in your country of origin and talk to somebody like Pedro over here and get yourself something that's fit for the road here in Portugal. Liz is in from Paris this morning. Hello, good morning. Just to say, I'm not particularly into cars, but loving this interesting conversation. Well, that's what we try and do here. Even if you're not interested in the subject, it's the people and the passion. I think, as you say here, Liz, I guess it's because more about people's passions. It absolutely is. And Pedro, it's been lovely to meet you. Much pleasure, and to hear of your passion and that amazing change in your life. You know, going from being a banker into your passion-based business, which sounds like it's going really well too. So fantastic to meet you, and thanks, Colin, for finding Pedro for us.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Okay, and if you want to go and buy this car, you can do so by getting in touch with Pedro.
Shout out. Yeah.
It's not sold yet. So Pedro Bastos, carconsulting.pt. Absolutely wonderful and great to meet you, and already looking forward to seeing you again soon. So have a great day, Pedro. Great to meet you. And Colin, thank you so much.
Obrigado. Thank you so much.
All right. Ciao.
Thank you, Pedro.
All right. There they go. Absolutely wonderful. We'll keep the applause going. Hold on. There it is. And then we'll bring Heather onto the screen. I think a very good affirmation.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, but a great affirmation of your consulting skills. We're moving from one consultant to another, from motoring to migration. And as you said on the screen there, you tend to tell people not to bring their vehicles with them, right?
Well, I've heard these horror stories. I mean, that's what that's what I've heard. I've never, it's one of the few things I haven't done here is import a vehicle. But the stories are pretty good, reasons not to, in my opinion. But if you have that much money and you're really in love with your car, sure, go for it.
Yeah. I mean, did you hear that? 22,000 Canadian dollars, loonies. I mean, and you'd have to be a loony to pay the extra 88,000 to bring it over to Portugal, right? And I mean, it's a bit like, you know how there's a sort of romantic dream. I think probably if you're American, certainly if you're a Brit, you open your email up and you've been left a house by a relative you didn't know very well, and that can be that's the beginning of a movie in England. In Portugal, it's like the beginning of a nightmare sometimes. You know, you get an email to tell you that you've inherited the property with 27 cousins in the middle of the Castelo Branco region. Oh, no, not another one. And it might be the same with cars, right? Your Canadian cousin thinks he's doing you a big favor by giving you this beautiful Lexus. And you find out it's going to cost 4 times the value of the vehicle. And not only that, having sent it here, you've got to pay to have it sent back again as well. So it's a big deal. It's a big deal, this bringing your car over, I think. So, yes. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. Does looking at vehicles do it for you at all? If I may be so personal, I mean, Colin was clearly getting quite excited looking at the S5 there. Do you like a sexy vehicle?
Not the same. I actually love classic cars, and I love the old Jag Roadster from Harold and Maude. I love Harold and Maude. But, you know, he turns it into the hearse Jag. But the original Jag is absolutely gorgeous. And I got to sit in one once. It's like 1968 Jag Roadster. So, I love the old Porsches, Alfa Romeos, like just the old cars, you know. But the new ones, I can't say I have a ton of experience in getting into some super fancy cars, but less so because and here I don't even know if I'd want that because I have a little VW Golf and I'm just like, there's a dent, okay, whatever. Like, I mean, my car's nice, but there's always something, some mysterious something. Or Kevin comes home and he's like, you're not gonna believe this. the mirror on the side of the car is like hanging off. That was like €500, like.
Okay, so, all right. That's and is that what you advise to other people then? Is get something you're not too attached to for everyday driving?
Just I wouldn't say that per se, but just know, like, I don't know, it's kind of like my house. Like, I can't have this idea of perfection. Just like, if I have this idea of perfection about my car, which does not have leather seats, and when we take the dogs to the park, it becomes like a dog hair fest. But if I don't, then I don't take my dogs to the park, and that's not cool, like, so it's worth it to me to like just not have perfection, but enjoy my life,
or two cars or more. I'm sure Pedro recommends getting 2 or 3 cars. It's the right choice, really. So,
well, most people have one car as a couple and share that. But I did promise my husband, because he loved his old Bronco. He had the OJ Bronco. Does that mean anything to you as a Brit?
An OJ Bronco sounds like a breakfast to me when I'm on holiday in Florida, and I'll have the OJ Bronco.
Well, my American friends know what I'm talking about. So when OJ Simpson, was running away from the police.
Okay, I've seen it from the air.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's a 1995 Ford Bronco, white Ford Bronco. So that's what he had, and it was beautiful. And I think when they bought it was like $2,000, and of course we put some money into it. But he sold it for almost $20,000 US when he left. And so it's a classic, and the old ones are worth a lot of money.
Yes.
But anyways, he loved that car, and it's pretty cool, a truck or whatever. And it was, lifted a little and all of that.
So there's more advice, really. And I hear this. Americans who you might advise to sell their vehicles before they come are making good money, aren't they, on their vehicles? You've got the vehicles going up. They don't seem to be losing on that. So another good reason to leave it there.
Yeah, it depends. But yeah, I think, I think selling just makes sense, because really, ultimately, you're not going to have a car that you can drive right away here. And when you get here, most people need a car to drive right away. And so if you've got a car you're matriculating and doing that whole deal, I don't know, that's expensive, convoluted, and stressful. And I really don't think you need to add something else.
Exactly. Yeah, you got one less problem if you don't do that, and you're going to have enough things to deal with without that extra headache. And a new word, homogulation. Had you ever heard of the word homogulate before you came to Portugal?
No. I would it's almost like homogeneous, like
yes, or homogenized milk.
Okay,
yes.
I missed that part of the conversation. I thought of it matriculate. I thought is what
true. Matriculate. Thank you.
Is that
Pedro.
the same thing, Pedro?
Pedro is still watching.
I know, 72 XJ. Okay. I didn't think it was an XJ. No. It's the Roadster. I love the Roadster. Someone out there knows Harold and Maude. Come on, I'm not the only one. I mean, it is.
We'll find out.
There is
homologate.
Yeah, it's kind of like totalitarianism. It's hard. It's one of those hard words for me to say,
In so many ways, it's like totalitarianism. It's like the totalitarianism of transport.
You say that's so good. Yeah. I don't see, there's just a couple words, and I don't know why my brain's just like that.
I think it sounds like a Roman emperor who may well have said back in the day. We got some interesting news actually. We can switch our attention to from motoring to migration. And Milene's here with Good Morning Gumpers, and something that might have been said by the Roman emperor, homologatus. Everything you've ever wanted is sitting on the other side of fear. It's actually George Adair who said that. And that could be one of those nice little sort of bon mots, little sayings there for migration. So if you're a little bit stuck at the moment, you may well need Heather's help, and you might need that little bit of encouragement from George Adair via Milene this morning, who also says, Heather, today's Expresso News, Turismo dos Estados Unidos, I think. No, it's from the EU. No, that is right, isn't it? From the EUA to Portugal. Cresce mais de 16% norte-americanos from the Estados Unidos já são os primeiros clientes dos hotéis em Lisboa. So a 16% rise I'm looking at there for North Americans in Lisbon hotels. Tourism, says Milene, of Americans in Portugal is going to increase. Is this people on scouting trips? Are you noticing a general interest in Portugal from American tourists? Or is it a lot of this to do with coming to check it out to see if they want to live here?
Oh, I think a lot of this has to do with the United States and the election and everything else. But I think also media and, but remember, there's still like only 10,000 Americans that live here. So again, you're seeing all this, Americans and whatever. And there's not too many Americans here. Like it's
true. No, I absolutely agree. Absolutely.
10,000 is like nothing, I mean, our population's over 10 million, right? Yes. So realistically, yes, there's definitely an increase. There's definitely more people scouting. There's definitely more people contacting us about the visas and moving forward. We were really slow at the beginning of the year because there was uncertainty going on. And then we kind of got like a deluge of business starting like in March. And I would say, and it's been quite busy since. And I have a ton of people that are just like, okay, I want to get there tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, well, we got to get rolling. And that's not exactly realistic. So, so we're working to get people here by the end of the year at this point, as far as clients go, and, and definitely into fourth quarter. But yeah, I think the news has increased more so about the tourism. So it's always going to at least appear like there's more traffic, and maybe there really is when you get statistics like that coming out of a hotel.
I think it's a good thing. I think it's fascinating. And if you are watching Good Morning Portugal, because Portugal's come onto your radar in North America, hello to you. And Heather here can help you, who's on the screen this morning. And I think
where's my little blurb with my website and my name?
I am so
I know. Heather can help you, but figure out how to reach her.
Okay, here we go. A little bit of Gumper dust on that situation. There you go. How's that? I'll get that comment
Sort
out.
of, except for it's covered with other
All right,
stuff. Yeah,
people
look
keep
at that.
talking.
There we go.
All
Boots
right.
on the ground, pt.com. We
People
do a
keep
free
talking to
half
us.
hour. Yeah, well, I do a free half hour chat. So you can email us or go to our website to schedule that, and yeah, get chatting about relocating or different things you're interested in.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
No, not at all. And if people keep sending in comments, they'll keep covering it. I'll make sure I'll make sure it can be seen, or maybe we need.
You should flip it and like put it on the hard side. You know,
I will put it on my to-do list. Okay, so
there you go.
Boots on the ground, pt.com. Harold and Maud has triggered some recollections for people.
I know it would. See, I have fans.
All right, and Pete is in as well. Heather, how much was the 1978 Volkswagen LT40 van to import? I think that's a Scooby-Doo joke right there, is it not? Yes, very funny. And greetings from the Algarve from Paul. Question for Heather. Visa extension to continue and to be extended to 2025. Fact or fiction? A fact check this morning on the Good Morning Portugal show.
Well, I would say fiction. There aren't visa extensions. What they will do and have done is extend the expiration date of your documents. So if you have a visa that expired, it's automatically, if you will, extended because ultimately they need to catch up on the AMA appointments in country. And so last I heard it was extended to the end of the this month, but they're probably right. I was expecting them to come out with something saying they extended to the end of the year any day now. So that's probably what that is about. I haven't seen it yet, but I haven't looked either.
All right. It depends, I think, is a classic answer this morning.
Well, there aren't visa extensions. Visa extensions are not a thing.
Oh, so the amount of time you have for a renewal, I suppose, is what Paul's talking about here, right?
Well, probably renewal I mean, the visa ends after 4 months. You're done. Visa done. So it's the visa. The point of the visa is to establish residency. Yeah. So the point is to get you to your immigration appointment in Portugal. But because that's taking longer than that 4 months, they're having to extend that. Otherwise, people are overstaying their visas, and really they are overstaying their visas. But the law has okayed that in extending everybody's documents automatically to whatever dates they keep putting out there. So, hopefully that means they'll get caught up.
And generally speaking, it's not a problem, is it? Because it lies, the responsibility for it lies with the government and IMA. And it's only
people freak out. And I mean, there's some reasons. Like I had a client whose father is very ill and they had to go back, and, you just document, and there's that, there's things you do. And you avoid going to other countries that are Schengen because you're overstaying, and there's strategies. But ultimately, it's one of the things I talk to people about is timing, because when you're moving here, you really want to, at some point, stay here until you've got your residency card. Which is a little bit of an unknown timing wise. So I always tell people, kind of once they do their initial moving stuff, just try to hang out for like 8 months or something. And that way you get to that point of your appointment, you get to that point of the card coming in the mail, and, and then you can, travel around. Of course, you still have minimum stays in Portugal for your residency, temporary residency. But that's usually kind of the direction I send people that makes the most sense.
I've just had an idea as well, Heather, while we've been talking there. I would love it if a Portuguese espumante company, that's the fizz here, the champagne of Portugal, although I suppose you're not really allowed to say that. But if an espumante company wants to get in touch, every time somebody gets a residency card, we can have a feature on the show here where we say, what was it? The Marques de Marialva, for example, wishes to congratulate today this person in Santarém or Caldas de Rainha, and their successful residency. A bottle of espumante will be on your way to you. Wouldn't that be a wonderful feature?
That would be fun. Yes, that would be fun. I often congratulate people like on our Facebook, but I don't name any clients because it's confidential information. But which I hate because it's a little obtuse. But usually often my clients that just got approved will comment and things like that, which is nice. But how wonderful people are like saying it so that you can actually congratulate them or drink. I think it might be an excuse to drink some of that fizzy stuff, but that's okay.
It's the fizzy stuff that makes you fuzzy. And so I'll get somebody on the team to look into that, which will be me later on. Matriculation is to register the car for use in Portugal. Homologation is to get
homologation. Yes.
Homologation is to make sure the car is correctly built for Europe. So that's the make.
Okay.
Thank you, Colin. Very good. I enjoyed and recall Harold and Maud a lot.
Love Harold and Maud.
Learning to live a life fully and with great appreciation and gratitude.
Love Harold.
And
best life lessons, and also really good Cat Stevens music before he went kind of crazy.
Okay. It's a wild world. Quinta dos Três Rios still up for sale. Hugh, I owe you a video of us ambling through your many vineyards there. That is still to come. And very happy memories of staying with you there at Três Rios, or Quinta dos Três Rios, and your wonderful, not only the wine production there, but just the whole lifestyle that you've created there. If somebody wants to get a beautiful car, they could do that from Pedro, and they could drive it into their new home at Quinta dos Três Rios. Actually, Pedro, it would be such a fabulous location to film one of your car videos. It's such a good backdrop, and it is a ready-made lifestyle for somebody who wants a 5-star off-grid life. Quinta dos Três Rios is fabulous. Hugh, stick a link in the chat. And
if your budget's not quite there, my little lot in central Portugal, 20 minutes from Tomar, 40 minutes from Coimbra, is also still for sale.
Pocket listings abundantly displayed this morning.
Again, well, I don't know about pocket listing, but it's in an urban lot that you can, build your house on, or put your tiny home or container or whatever under 30,000 euros. So, and it has utilities to the, edge of the property. So
near fabulous Tamar. Absolutely. Okay. So a land with permission to build, am I right?
A lot. It's about 5,400 square foot. So it's a lot, but this on the edge of Alviazra. Alviazra. I don't know how you say that.
We call it Alviagra.
It's a little town 20 minutes from Tomar. So it's an inexpensive, beautiful central Portugal location, and the lot's quite pretty, and they can't build across the street because there's cork trees and some nice things like that. There's a Roman museum like right there, kitty corner, and pretty interesting.
Amazing place. And you live near the great Austin brothers as well, if you go over that way. Hey to all of you who wish husband Steve well when he broke his femur. He's walking. Thanks for the update here, Sarah, and the Yerman household, or Casa Yerman. He's walking, no wheelchair, no crutches. It's a miracle. About to start physical therapy, bicycling soon. Oh, yes, he wants to be back in the saddle, which means only one thing in your house. Thanks for the encouragement. Well, lots of love to Steve. Send him our best wishes, if you will. Yes, absolutely, Antonio. Great news. And yes, Pete agreeing too. Glad to hear that, Sarah. Wish him a speedy recovery from us. As far as I know, that extension is only valid inside Portugal. And of course, you made reference to this, didn't you?
Yeah.
Schengen, other Schengen countries might give you a brief about this.
No, just do not go to other Schengen. Yeah, not grief. You're an overstayer, and they can deport you. So
that's pretty serious, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Still waiting for my renewal.
Oh, I saw that. And the driver's license exchange, and then the driver's license.
Look at that. Yep. And there you go. Alviazra, if you want to look that up and buy yourself a piece of land over there. Right. We were going to talk about Caldas de Rainha this morning, or Cali Dash, because it's so popular with the Americans. And tell me, what's so good about Caldas? We haven't done this before, Heather, and it could be a useful little guide, isn't it? I don't think the popularity of Caldas is waning anytime soon. It's a fabulous city here on the Silver Coast of Portugal. What made you choose it in the first place?
I didn't really. I actually... I chose more by house, honestly, initially, because I chose region, and then I chose by house because I was moving my elderly parents, and we had very specific needs. So honestly, I got extremely lucky that my house is close to that wonderful city. So I think as far as the region goes in general, because there's a lot of really great places like São Martinho de Porto, Foz do Relho, Peniche, Alcobaça, I could go on in this region, right? And part of it was just the logistics of being an hour from Lisbon and the airport and 20 minutes from the beach or less. Well, my house is 20 minutes. And but the city itself is an artsy city. It's got an amazing park that we go to often. I love walking the historic streets in town. There's another park called Mata, which is beautiful, really interesting, different park. It's got great restaurants. It's got all sorts of festivals all the time that are interesting and events. And it's just sort of the right size. It's very small but big. Like it has, I think we have 14 grocery stores or something. It's like we have a lot.
That's big ones, like supermarket size. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of choices here, and that's nice. And we have a Staples, and even though like Nazaré is so close, I have a friend of mine that lives in Nazaré, and but he can't get like file folders or something silly. Well, I think that there's one of the Chinese stores there, which again sounds racist, but it's not. It's what they call them here. And so he drives 40 minutes or something. He comes down to college to go to our Staples. Good old
I call
Staples.
them on the matter of Chinese shops, which we should perhaps clarify. I call them chingados. Is that bad?
It might be more racist oriented, but you know what? These days, whatever. I'm over it.
I don't mean it badly. I really don't.
Call me whatever you want to call me. I'm going to say what I want to say.
Chinese shops are an incredible resource to the community.
They are. You need the big tubs to store your stuff. There's like 800 things that you're like, I need this. Where do I go? It's like the Chinese store.
Absolutely. So Caldash as well. Something I'll say about Caldash, and as well as its many supermarkets, you're absolutely right. Every kind of supermarket for every kind of taste, and you'll get into the Portuguese habit of going to one for some things and going to another for something else. And please go to the Praça da Fruta as well, the fruit market.
The fruit market. I was going to say, absolutely. The fruit market, 363 days a year. We have an open air fruit and vegetable market, which is the only 363 day a year open air market in Portugal, which is really cool. And yeah, we love the market. Absolutely. We have the fish market as well. And in the arts, we have the Bordalo Pinheiro with museums, the museum ceramics factory. There you go. There's your Bordalo Pinheiro.
Yes, that's from Caldash. That's where you'll see this iconic pottery look around.
My husband makes the best fun of that. He's like, because like he is not really into ceramics, and he's like, I don't want to go look at a plate, like a lettuce plate for an hour or something. Like I don't know. He's funny. He does it well.
For the person who eschews the cabbage plate, there are the phallic potteries as well.
That's the other thing. Like, I'll let you explain that because I don't know.
I was hoping you might explain that.
Well, there's an old story, but no one knows the real stories.
Pedro can come back on and explain it. He's Portuguese. He should take responsibility.
Yeah, definitely.
Pedro, give us a thumbs up if you're happy to come and explain the phallic pottery of Caldash. What a sport! What a sport! Heather and I think it's disgusting. So what do you have to think to yourself?
No, I don't think it's disgusting at all. Don't you dare say that with no.
I've been laughing for the last 2 minutes. You can't imagine because I remember seeing the faces of so many tourists that go to Caldas da Rainha for so many other reasons, and when they get there, it's like
because there's these giant ceramic penises, and magnets with penises, and
they are even afraid of sitting down at a restaurant because they look at the chair for it's like.
Some people might go specifically for that.
It is, it's been a tradition, and people we tell jokes to each other about Caldas da Rainha. It's like when you see a guy acting funny or something, you should go to Caldas da Rainha. Come on, just have a seat. Have a seat there. But no, it's a tradition. I don't exactly know where it comes from.
Oh, it comes from a king that I think was bored. Like one of the stories is like some king was bored and told one of the artists like to, I don't know, make something interesting. And he did. Yeah. And I was at the Caldish Nights festival the other day in the park, and we were just walking along innocently, enjoying the park. And there's this, it was funny because they were, politically correct. There's this person coming in this there's a woman in a flesh-colored, full-body blow-up penis, testicles, the whole nine, and then right next to her is her friend in the black penis, and then so we have these two penis. I have a picture.
And the kids,
actually. It's really
and the kids
funny.
along.
Right. The kids along, exactly. And it was quite fun. They were good fun, and it was pretty funny. Made a good picture, and it was like perfectly appropriate to Caldas de Reina. Exactly.
Absolutely, yeah, didn't bat an eyelid. And so, as a final note, and if that hasn't helped the real estate agents of Caldas de Reina, I don't know what will. But, the funny thing about it is that there's no obvious center to me. On my first few visits there, you go to Tamar and I get this city. This is, there's that lane there, and there's a square there, and there's the church, and there's the monastery up on the hill.
You don't think the in front of the church by the cameras, where they do the Christmas tree lighting? That's one of them, an area. It's one. It's not the most interesting. My favorite area is the main walking street, and then the other walking street off the fruit market. I think one of the fruit market is definitely a core. The park is the heart, we just the thermal hospital. I don't know. There's there's
what I'm saying is, and this isn't a criticism. It's like, give Caldas a chance, spend time there, because you will go there thinking, well, okay, so I've seen the fruit market now. I don't, is that it? The other parts are hidden in a way.
Kind of hidden. That's a cool. Absolutely, it's a cool thing about Caldas. And when I came in 2017 with my mom, we actually did drive through. We drove up to the park, but we didn't even go in because my mom was having back problems and needed surgery. And so we did a lot of our scouting Portugal from the car, honestly, because of her limitations. So I didn't even really see what was cool about Caldas at the time. Again, I liked the region, and through my other scouting trips and exploration, I honed into this area, but I just got lucky ultimately. And but it is one of those cities where I can see people drive up and they just snub their nose or whatever and drive on. Yes. But you're missing the beauty. I mean, the ceramics museum. Have you been to that, Carl? Because it's absolutely gorgeous. You need to go.
It grows on you. In fact, going back to the phallic imagery, it is a grower and not a shower.
It's a grower.
Okay,
that's a good one. You're right.
In the last minutes of the show this morning, let's just go for a God Squad tip of the day and some mindful memery. Mindful moment: do every act of your life as though it were the very last act of your life. Wow, that's quite the way.
Marcus Aurelius.
Second mention of Roman emperors this morning. Mindful dad joke. This recipe doesn't make sense. Add leftover wine. What the hell is leftover wine? Yes, that is a very good point. And the coach was in very early. Feliz Quinta-feira, a bit stuck at home today waiting for deliveries. I mean, the amount of hours that get wasted with people stuck at home waiting for deliveries in this age. We'll be mostly gardening. In Portugal, they ring you and they will even deliver things to the local cafe. Get in that habit, folks. Definitely a little cooler today, but still low 20s. God Squad tip of the day. 2 minutes of exercise is enough, said the headlines promoting high-intensity interval training, aka fartlek. And to a certain extent, it's true. 5 to 6 20-second maximum efforts is sufficient. What that fails to add is the need to warm up, cool down, and the recovery time between repetitions. So in reality, 30 minutes is needed. A minimum of 30 minutes is needed. Well said, coach. However, the benefits are significant. What these efforts appear to provide is a longer change to the metabolism than more gentle exercise, helping to burn fat and improve cardiovascular health. And finally, so whether the exercise is sprinting, cycling, swimming, rowing, or dancing madly around the kitchen, driving around in your convertible is not included in this. It's worth 2 to 3
It should
times.
be.
It should be, definitely. Pedro,
Unless you're driving really fast.
Let's tell everybody that driving around in a sexy cabriolet helps you lose weight.
Actually, if you drive really hard on a mountain road, believe me, you're going to sweat the hell out.
Yes, okay.
Believe me.
You're right.
If Colin's driving, believe me, you will. As my cousin says of skiing, speed is your friend. Oh, I've had friends who said that, and my mum told me to stop being friends with them. Okay, let's look at the images to finish this morning. When you're ascending into higher levels of consciousness, but your ego has a fat ass. Okay, thank you for that. I wasn't expecting that this morning. On the next episode on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I don't get
Kardashians.
This.
Well, that's Kardashians. Gosh, you were just such not a geek. Every time I come on here, I'm always like,
that's
wow.
A compliment, Heather. You say this to me, and it's a
no,
compliment.
it's really not actually.
Okay.
That's okay. That's okay. I love you anyways.
All right.
Kardashians is the name of that species.
Okay, all right. Thank you for thank goodness you were here. Global Nobles, you're very welcome. Great show as always. Well, it's been a pleasure to be with regulars Heather and Colin, and to meet our new mate here, Pedro. Pedro Bastos. It's so good to meet you, and thanks for sticking around for the extra half hour. I hope it's been fun for you.
It has.
And we look forward to seeing you again soon. So, round of applause for you both, and see you all tomorrow. Oh, see you on the webinar tonight for Expats Portugal. And até amanhã, até a próxima, and all the other Portuguese.
Beijinhos.
Beijinhos. Beijinhos.
Beijinhos. Abraços. Tchau, tchau.
Bom dia, Portugal! In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.